20 valuable pennies that you should be looking for in your pocket change. Let's start off with the 1968 D Lincoln cent. Now these things can be worth about 4 or 5 cents and upwards of like $20. There is 2.8 billion of them made, so a ton of 1968 pennies made. And there's also some really good errors to look for on the 1968 series that can make them be worth hundreds of dollars. What are some examples? Great question. Let me tell you about it. One good error to look for is off-center strikes. Other ones are clip planchets. Really rare ones are struck over dime or struck on dime planchets. And then more quote-unquote common errors to look for on 1968 cents are double dies. So how much are these worth? 1968 off-center strike error pennies are really sought after, but they are quite rare. Usually ones with 30% or more off-center are going to be worth a ton of money. One sold recently, only about 2 years ago, that was graded with a 30 to 40% off-center for over $100. The pennies struck on dime planchets or struck on production dimes are worth thousands of dollars and extremely rare. 1968 double die obverses or double die reverses are both fairly common in relation to other double dies from other years, and those can be worth anywhere from about $50 and upwards depending on how prevalent the double die is. Next on the list is a much newer penny, a 2016 S Shield penny. These are worth anywhere from around 60 cents to around $18 or $19. There was 1 billion of them made, and being relatively new, the 2016 S Shield cent is pretty available in many higher ranges of mint state. If you send it off to get graded, you can also find really high condition ones in your pocket change that can be worth pretty good money, like I said, around that $18 to $20 mark. Next on the list is the 2015 S Shield penny, so super similar to the 2016 S, of course, but there was only 1.1 million of these made, so they're much more rare, and they're going to come across in lower conditions generally when you find them in pocket change, but if you are able to find a really high condition 2015 S Shield penny, you could be sitting on quite a bit of money. A few of them have sold in the hundreds that came back graded pretty well. At number 17, the 2013 Shield penny. So the next one after this one is also a good Shield penny, but let's talk about this bad boy. The 2013 Shield penny has no mint mark. It's out of Philadelphia, so it's also referred to as a 2013 P. There's 3.7 billion of them out there that were minted, and when you're talking higher ranges of grade like MS63 and above, they can be still relatively affordable, running around $20 for the coin, maybe around the $30 mark. Now, if you're able to get these graded extremely high, like MS66 through MS68, and they have the brown or red-brown designation, these can be worth close to $60. So they're a really, really good coin, and some have sold for far higher than that. At number 16, the 2012 Shield penny. So like I said, there's another Shield penny squeaking in here in the beginning of the list. These are also a relatively new cent, albeit about 11 years old, 12 years old. In higher grades similar to the previously mentioned coin that had a similar mintage, this one having 3.1 billion of them made, they share a similar value. You're really looking for high condition coins, and ones that sit in the higher MS grades above 60 generally can sell for between $20 and $70. Now, jumping back in time a bit, we're going to go to a 1993 D Lincoln cent at spot 15, which has a similar value due to overall rarity since the production amount of these coins was well over 6 billion of them made. The 1993 D is out of the Denver Mint, of course. In an average circulated condition, they're usually just the face value of 1 cent, but in really good condition, these can sell for around $3 to $5. In actual graded condition, in higher than MS61 grade, these have sold in upwards of $30 pretty regularly. At number 14, the 2010 D Shield penny. These coins can sell anywhere from around $20 to $30 if they're graded pretty decent, Some have sold in upwards of a couple $100 if they're in the MS66 red or higher condition when graded, and they regularly sell around the $2 to $3 mark in circulated but good condition. So if you find a 2010 penny in your pocket, you could be sitting on pretty good money. Next on our list at number 13 is the 2017 S Shield Penny. Now, due to a lower mintage comparatively to the other mint marks held on a 2017 series Shield Penny, these 2017 S's only had 979,000 of them made. So in pretty okay circulated condition, they can sell for around 50 to 65 cents, but in graded condition, these have been seen selling for around $60. There are known errors on these that are double die obverses and reverses, so keep an eye out for those as well. At number 12, the 2014 S Shield Penny. There was 1.1 million of these made, so a pretty low amount comparatively to other shield cents. The 2014 S's are another relatively newer coin in the last decade or so. When you're talking proof coins, they can be worth well close to $100, if not more. A red designation 2014 D Shield Penny is generally worth around 30% to 40% more than a red brown, and a red brown will usually be worth about 20% more than your well-graded coins without that designation. These things usually sell around the $20 to $25 mark if they're just in really, really good condition. At number 11, the 2013 S Shield Penny. So 1 year previous to the aforementioned coin, these had 1.2 million of them made. They're pretty new in the last decade. And if you're able to get one graded with a red, brown, or brown designation, then you would be able to really get some good value out of this coin in a premium over the face value of 1 cent. Now in circulated condition, they usually go for about 1 to 5 cents depending on condition, which 5 cents is still 5 times the face value. But in good graded condition, they can sell for anywhere between 30 and 80 bucks. At number 10, same year, different mint mark, the 2013 D Shield Penny. Now these coins had 3.3 billion of them made, but they are a little bit more valuable as it's really hard to come across ones in good condition in pocket change. Now on the regular end, they're 1 cent, as the face value indicates, but in good condition, they usually go for about 8 to 10 cents per coin ungraded, and in good graded conditions can be worth anywhere from around 20 bucks and upwards of $80, $81 if they're graded really well in the high MS grades. At number 9, the 2012 S Shield Penny. Now, as you can see, Shield Pennies are a big part of this list, as we're going over coins that are good to look for in your pocket change currently that aren't these crazy like 1909 VDB pennies that are hundreds or thousands of dollars. There was 2.8 billion of these minted for the 2012 S Shield cent, and another really relatively newer penny in the last decade plus. These things share a similar value as the previously mentioned coins. You're really looking for DCAM or CAM coins or red, brown, or brown designation if you get them graded. In MS 63 and above, these usually sell for around 15 bucks. If you're talking PR 60 or 68 and higher, you can be talking about 60, 70 plus dollars depending on what that grade is. At number 8, the 2012 D Shield Penny. So very similar to those previously mentioned coins. This is the same year, but the D mint mark. And there is 2.8 billion of these made. Of course, face value is 1 cent, and all the pennies we've talked about have a smooth edge on them. So that's a similar as far as graphics and design of the coin, minus the reverse necessarily. Now, the 2012 D Shield Penny is a really good one to collect in general and keep an eye out for because there's a ton of them out there. They, of course, are usually 1 cent, depending on condition circulated. However, if you're able to get a really high condition one, they can be 10 to 15 cents, and then graded in MS 64, 65, or above, especially with that red, brown, or brown designation, can sell in anywhere in upwards of about 50 bucks, which is pretty good. And one that's sold in auction at one of the highest grades out there which was MS68, sold for over $100 in auction about a year and a half, 2 years ago. At number 7, the 2005 D Lincoln Penny. So we're jumping back a little bit further in time. There was 3.8 billion of these made. And overall, the 2005 D had a much larger production amount than the Philadelphia or San Francisco minted coins. In average circulated condition, they're worth 1 cent, but one that's in certified mint state can be worth in upwards of almost $25 if it's in a really high grade. Ones that are really, really high grade with red, brown, or brown designations have been seen selling for around $100+ in auctions, but of course there's an auction commission put on that from the auction house, so the take-home money is a little bit less, but still a really valuable penny. At number 6, the 1968 S Lincoln Penny. Now you're probably like, wait a minute, you talked about that earlier. But the 1968s and the 1968 S's, of course, have different mint marks. They do share very similar error coins to look for, being off-center strikes, clip planchets, so on and so forth. There was 258 million of these made, so quite a bit less than the one we mentioned before. And these start off at about 20 cents a piece and go in upwards of about $80 depending on grade. At number 5, we are getting down there. It's the 2002 Lincoln Penny. Now these are out of the Philadelphia Mint, so they're not going to bear a mint mark. There was 3.2 billion of them made, and of course have a face value of 1 cent. The 2002 no mint mark pennies generally are a cent if you find them in circulation beat up. If they're in pretty good condition, then they can be in upwards of about 10 to 18 cents. When they come back graded, you're talking anywhere from about $28 and upwards of $100. Next on the list is the other counterpart to that previously mentioned coin, which is the 2002 D Lincoln cent. Now these had 4 billion of them made, so a ton of them. And there was more of these made than the Philadelphia Mint. So you're probably like, well, why is it worth more? Simply put, it's really hard to find them in very good condition, despite the fact there's a ton of them out there. There's also quite a bit of good errors to look for, similar to the other ones, primarily double dies. These can be worth around 5 or 6 cents if they're in really good condition, ungraded, but of course to the right person. If they come back from grading at high MS grades, especially with designations, they can be worth anywhere from around $31 and upwards of like $70. At number 3, the 1982 D Lincoln Penny. Now in 1982, there were many varieties minted. There was a large and small date copper P, large and small date zinc P, as well as large D coppers and large and small D zinc pennies. I have another video that covers 82s quite a bit, so you can check that out if you're interested in all the differences. But here's a picture of just kind of the main difference of the large and small date varieties of this coin. There was quite a bit more of these produced at Philadelphia than the other two mints, so a 1982 S is going to be the most valuable. You can also find quite a bit of errors to look for, like double dies and off-center strikes, so keep an eye out for those. And these coming back graded without errors, despite a production amount of 6 billion of them, can be worth an upwards of $30 to $110. So they're a really, really good coin to look for, even if you're not able to get it graded. At number 2, the 1975 D Lincoln Penny. 1975 Ds had 4.5 billion of them made. Some of them have sold in high grades for around $50 to $70, and there are quite a few errors to be aware of. One of the oddest ones is a 75D struck on a dime cent. Super duper rare, but there's an unset amount of them out there. Last on this list, and then we'll have many more videos with more of them, is the 1982P Lincoln Penny. Now there was 10.7 billion of these coins made, but in high grades they can be worth 56 to 100 and some odd dollars. In ungraded, circulated but good condition, they can still be worth around 10 to 20 cents, which is pretty good. In 1982, there was also quite a few varieties, as I mentioned earlier. That's that large and small date varieties across all the different ones. So those are definitely ones you want to keep an eye out for, because for the Philadelphia Mint, there was a large and small date copper and a large and small date zinc penny that were produced during that year. Both of those can hold pretty good value, but 1982D small date coppers are the most valuable 1982 penny, and I mentioned the Ds earlier, but didn't happen to mention that, so I wanted to make sure you knew that information, that the 1982D small date coppers are really valuable in comparison to the rest of them. Of course, keep an eye out for any errors on these coins, as known off-center strikes and double dies are known, especially DDOs. So check those out over other websites and then on my site varietyerrors.com if you want to learn a little bit more about them. Let's get into another video for 20 really valuable pennies that you can find in circulation. You guys seem to really like those other videos. I love making them, so it's a perfect combination, right? So let's start off with the 1971D Lincoln penny. These are really great ones to look for in your pocket change because they can hold a pretty good value over the face value of 1 cent. There was a ton of them made. Almost 3 billion of these coins were produced. But if you can find one in really good condition, they're worth a couple bucks. Now, generally speaking, you're going to be looking for ones that are graded. These can be worth in the $15 to $25 region, so they're pretty valuable. Although the cost of grading is a bit high, it'd be a good coin to hold on to and maybe later grade or just add to the old collection graded and move along. And there are known double dies to look for on 1971 Ds. The next coin is its counterpart, which is just the 1971 Lincoln cent out of the Philadelphia Mint that won't bear a mint mark. These have a similar value at around $14 to $26 if they're in really good condition. Of course, if you get one graded, you're going to be looking for a red or red-brown designation, as the highest graded ones are going to be worth quite a bit more than that. And there's a ton of them to look for, but less than the 1971D, at around 2 billion of them produced. Next on the list is the 1995 Lincoln cent, which is another really good one to look for in pocket change, ranging from around $15 to $30 in really good condition, but that would be graded. There was over 6 billion of these made, so a ton of them out there, with the highest graded coins being close to $100 even. Next on the list is the 1980D Lincoln cent. There was 5.1 billion of these made, so there's a ton of these out there. You see them in pocket change probably pretty regularly. But the thing is, on these, there's a lot of errors known. The Denver, San Francisco, and no mint marks version of these coins have plenty of strange errors. They are made of copper. They're not really a key date, but they could be really valuable, sitting at around 14 or 15 bucks and upward in really good condition. On the low end, ungraded, they can be worth as much as $4 to $6. There's a lot of known off-center strikes, doublings, and even a really rare double denomination coin that are known for these 1980D Lincoln cents. Next on the list is the 1978 Lincoln cent, and there were several errors known for these, primarily a double strike type of error that is somewhat common for this year. Now, double strikes look something akin to two partial coins that have been smashed together, albeit it is just one coin, and this error can be worth in the thousands if you find one. Now, the standard coin for the 1978 Lincoln cent can, even ungraded in really high conditions, be worth as much as $8 or $9, despite the fact that there is 5.5 billion of them made. Now, in higher graded conditions, these can be close to 30 bucks. Next on the list is the 1974S, the 1974D, and the 1974 Lincoln cents, so we'll talk about them all together. Now, there was very little San Francisco coins made, but the Denver and Philadelphia mints both had similar mintages for this coin. There's also CUDs as well as off-center errors that are known to exist. These coins had roughly 4 to 5 billion of them made depending on the mint mark, aside from the San Francisco coin, But even though a ton of them were made, in high conditions they're hard to come by in pocket change. So if you're able to, these can be worth in upwards of $4 to $8 for a raw coin, and graded coins can be worth in upwards of $20 to $30. The San Francisco version of this coin had only 409 million of them made, so it is the rarest out of the three and usually sees a lot higher values comparatively to the others. Next on the list is the 1973 D and S Lincoln cent. The 1973 San Francisco Lincoln cents had 312 million of them made, so not that many comparatively to a lot of these other coins. There are 1973 aluminum pennies out there, which are extremely rare. Copper pennies cost more to produce than they are worth, and the solution suggested in 1972 was that they should mint pennies out of aluminum. Now, only 8 to 12 of these were issued, and one was returned back to the mint, surprisingly, and they're worth $250,000 to $500,000 for one of those coins. But hey, they said that there's a possibility of more of them out there, they just haven't been found, and you could be the next lucky person. Now, the normal coin's worth around $8 in ungraded but high condition, and in graded condition can be worth around $30. The 1973 D Lincoln cent had a ton of them made at 3.5 billion, but this is another one of those coins that could have various errors on it, like double dies and then that coveted aluminum penny. Most likely you'll never see one of those, however, and the 1973 D can be worth in upwards of $20 to $25 when graded. Next on the list is the 2010 S penny. Now, these are a shield cent. Some of them ungraded even have sold in upwards of $6 to $8 in really good condition and graded around the $40 mark. There was only 1.6 million of these made, so that low mintage amount really aids in that value to this coin, despite it being really not that old of a penny. That rolls right into the next one on the list, which is the 2009 S Shield penny. Now, proof cents for 2009 are ones that got out into circulation, of course, in various means, and can be worth an upwards of $12 ungraded, and an upwards of $40 or $50 graded. These coins are really, really cool. These 2009 pennies are part of the bicentennial 1 cent program, and again, there's not many of them made, so that really aids in the value, and if you're able to come across a proof version of this coin, then you would really be sitting on some good value. San Francisco minted the only proof 2009 cents, and 4 different pennies were created and issued for the bicentennial and centennial for the Lincoln cent. The 2009 represents the professional life of President Lincoln, and that spanned for about 31 years. An interesting thing about these coins is a few double dies have been found for these coins. Next on the list, we're going further back in time with the 1969 S Lincoln penny. These can be worth in upwards of $9 to $11, even ungraded but in high condition. There was 544 million of them made, and there was also 2,934 proofs issued for this year. Now, many proofs of these coins have gone to auction and sold for nearly $30,000 in the last 10 years. So these coins can get crazy valuable, especially when you're talking about proof versions. The 1969 S Lincoln cents generally go for around $50 to $100 graded, and way higher than that if it's a really high grade when you see them go online or in auction. The 1969 D Lincoln cent has about 4 billion of them made, but is also a really, really good coin, and there's a no FG initial error and a floating roof error known to exist on these coins. These coins can sell for anywhere of $40 and up, even ungraded, and graded they can be in the hundreds to thousands of dollars, depending on overall condition. Next on the list is a little bit older than those coins, which is the 1967 Lincoln cent. These can be worth on a low end of around 35 cents, even ungraded in kind of average circulation condition, but can be valued around $9 to $14 in pretty good condition. There was 3 billion of them made, and no proofs or coins from the Denver or San Francisco Mint were issued that year. In higher grades, these coins can be worth hundreds to even thousands of dollars when seen being sold in auction. Next on the list is the 1966 penny. These had 2.1 billion of them made, so quite a bit, but not as much as some of the others. And when you're talking really high grades like red, red-brown, and brown designation, these can sell in the hundreds to thousands of dollars. Ungraded, they go for 12 to 15 bucks all day, and in really good ungraded condition, I've seen them in shops for anywhere of around $18 to $22 if they're in incredibly good condition. There are errors known for the 1966 pennies. There's, of course, a really, really, really rare struck on a 10-cent planchet error, which you're probably not going to find, but are worth tons of money. There's also some misprint on the word "we" on the front of the penny, or obverse. And there's also a bunch of double strikes that you can get, which are more likely, and in different degrees, they can be worth tons of money. Getting down there on the list, we have a few more left. The 2019 S Shield penny is the next one. This is a readily available coin, and there is quite a bit of them that have been seen in auction the last few years, even ones with red designations at like PR 68 and 69 or high MS grades for non-proof coins. There was only 1 million of them produced, so that really aids in the overall value for these 2019 S Shield pennies, if you can imagine. One sold only a couple years ago for almost $2,000 at auction, which is pretty stellar for such a new coin. Next on the list is the 1980 Lincoln cent, so we're going almost 40 years back in time from this previous 2019 cent. Ones with a red designation from either PCGS, NGC, or other grading services are going to fetch a huge premium comparatively to other graded versions of this coin. There was a huge amount of 1980 pennies that were produced, but they still go for around $4 in average condition, but in upwards of like $25 to $40 in even mid-MS grades and around the 60s. There's also some known errors for these coins, like doubling on the word "we," off-center strikes, and clip planchets to keep an eye out for. If you're unfamiliar with these types of errors, of course, feel free to watch my other video that talks about the 1980 errors. Last on our list, I thought we'd end it off with a new coin, essentially, the 2023 S penny. Now, there was only 300,000 of these made, so they're really, really, really rare, and we are talking about the proof version of this coin, so there's only so many of them out there, as you know, for any proof coin created. And the relatively new 2023 Shield cent is a readily available coin in higher mint state grades from MS67 and above. Ones with designations for red, red, brown, or brown, of course, are about 30% more when you see them go to auction or sold online. So these coins are really, really good ones to grab up if you're able to buy proof coins, but also the non-proof 2023 pennies can be seen selling online for anywhere around $1 and upwards of $3 or $4 for really, really good condition ones, which is crazy since the face value is only a penny. The first one on the list is the 2006 Lincoln penny. This thing had a ton of them produced, 4.2 billion of them. They have a smooth edge. There's a ton of them out there. The ones with higher condition are going to be the ones worth the most money. So these 2006 ones, although a ton of them were made, in high conditions they can be worth around $16 or $17, which is pretty good. Now, many people ask, why get it graded when it costs, let's say, $20, $30 to get a coin graded, and it's going to come back and only be worth about $20? Well, you can see this in trading cards, you can see it in comic books. Sometimes it's still worth getting things graded and then adding it to your collection, and then in the future, as most collectibles do, they'll hopefully go up in value, and then that will justify the cost of getting it graded. Not only that, but then usually you can see that things with higher values are going to need to cost more to get graded, like you see in the comic book realm. The higher value to the book, the more cost it's going to be to get it graded. As a coin's ungraded value increases, so does the value in which it's going to cost to get it graded, so getting it graded now would be better than later. Next on the list is a 2007 S Lincoln penny. Now, the last one had that large production amount. These only had 2.5 million of them minted out of the San Francisco Mint, and the Lincoln pennies from 2007, specifically the S pennies, dwindle in comparison to the mintages from the Denver and Philadelphia mints. Due to this, in really high condition, even average circulated condition can usually be worth a few cents, which is still 3 to 4 times the value of 1 penny, but ones that grade pretty high can be close to $21. Next on our list is the 1968 Lincoln cent. Now, I've talked about this one in another video. On average, these can be worth already about 5 cents, which is great. If they come back graded really high, these can be worth between $15 and $30, which is a really good value for a penny. Especially one that had 1.7 billion of them minted out of the Philadelphia Mint. There's also some really good errors that you can look for, like off-center strikes, clip planchets, and double dies, both on the obverses and reverses of these coins, and that would make them worth hundreds. Next on the list is only a year later in 1969, and this Lincoln cent's a really great one to look for. There's 1.1 billion of them made, so they are out there, although a penny of this age is getting a little harder to find in pocket change. There are known errors on the 1969 Lincoln penny, like a no FG initial error on the coin, and these can sell for really, really good money. In general, in average condition, they're only 1 to 2 cents if they're really, really good condition, but generally can sell for around $20 if they're graded. Next on the list is the 1970D and 1970S Lincoln cents. These are really, really good coins to look for as well. They're pre-1982 coins, so the composition is different for them slightly. They do have a smooth edge like the rest of the pennies on this list, and there were 690 million of the 1970 S coins made. So how much is your 1970 S Lincoln cent worth? Generally, they are just worth a penny in circulated condition, but they can be worth an upwards of $25 to $40 in auction when you see ones go in higher MS grades like MS62 and above. There are known double dies on these pennies as well, so that's something to keep an eye out for, and they also sell for the $20 range. Next on the list is the 1992 Lincoln cent. There was 4.6 billion of them made, so quite a few out there and larger than some of the other numbers we've seen on this list. Ones to keep an eye out for is that there's a close AM version of this coin that sells for thousands of dollars. One sold back in 2018 for over $20,000, and then in 2021 for over $25,000. So 1992 close AM pennies are really, really hard to find, but really, really valuable. If you don't know the difference between close AM and wide AM cents, I have a video, actually a few videos, on this matter, and I'll put links in the description box for you to learn about them. The normal 1992 pennies usually sell for around $19 to $31 in auction when they grade high. Next on the list is the 2005 Lincoln cent. This one only had 3.9 million of them made, so that low mintage is going to really give to a higher value in comparison to other cents. Now, these 2005 cents are out of the Philadelphia Mint and have an extremely low mintage similar to San Francisco cents of the same year. Average circulated condition coins are usually 1 to 2 cents, but ones that are seen selling in auction at high grades usually sell around the $35 mark. Next on the list is the 2010 Shield penny. So slightly different in design than the other pennies on this list, and of course a newer cent being in the last decade and a half or so. On average, these are just worth a penny in circulated beat-up condition. However, they can see selling for about $8 to $10 in really good circulated condition, and then in upwards of almost $30 or $40 in auction when you see them in high grades. Now, of course, if you're talking proof coins, these can sell in upwards of $70. Next on the list is the 2011 Shield penny. So 1 year later, but with a much higher mintage at 2.4 billion of them made. Now you're probably asking, with that amount of them made, why are they worth a decent amount? I think due to seeing most of them in pretty beat up circulation condition and not many of them being graded in high condition, you see the value of highly graded MS grades above MS63 or higher selling for quite a bit of money, between $40 and $60. Next on our list is the other two counterparts to the 2011 Shield Penny, which is the D and S Shield Penny. These are both really good to look for. 2011 D Shield Pennies had a mintage of roughly 2.5 billion of them. Now, if you're able to find one in extremely high condition, you could be looking at a coin that's worth around $40 to $80. Now, for the 2011 S Shield Pennies, there was only 1.6 million of them minted, so they have a much higher value than the other two minted coins of the same year. Usually in average circulated condition, you can get around 20 cents for these coins, which is pretty stellar. I've seen ones go in auctions for actually hundreds of dollars, but on average they can go for around $75 in a high MS grade due to that low mintage. Next on the list is the 2014 Shield Penny, another coin that sits around $20. Now, it's a relatively new shield cent from 2014 out of the Philadelphia Mint, which would bear no mint mark. These are readily available in many of the higher ranges of grades, but ones that are MS 67 and 68, even though affordable, are getting much more rare. Now, if they have the red designation on the coin, these, even with a red or red-brown designation, are worth significantly higher, at 30 to 50% higher when you see them sell in auction. Next on the list is the counterpart to the previously mentioned coin, the 2014 D Shield Cent, which had a huge run of coins and is also a relatively newer shield cent with over 4.1 billion of them made. Now, there's a scarcity of ones that are graded in really high grades, which is why this one actually is worth quite a bit of money in comparison to the other coins, but slightly less than its no mint mark counterpart. These coins usually get seen selling for around $15 in high grade, so it wouldn't really be worth the grade cost per se than to just hold on to the coin. But ones that are in really high grades, as in higher than MS 67 or 8, usually sell in upwards of about $50. Next on our list is the 2018 S Shield Penny. The proof version of this coin can sell in circulated condition for around $1, which is pretty stellar, but those are far less likely to come across. These are a much newer coin, being from 2018, but with a mintage of only 899,000, the 2018 S Shield Pennies are extremely rare comparatively. Due to this low mintage, the value of these coins can be really high, especially if they're in really good designation or have a brown or red-brown designation, which makes them roughly 30 to 60% more valuable over the already high value of really well-graded ones that can be close to $100. We're really getting down there. We're down to the last 5 coins with the 2019 W Shield Penny. Now, we haven't talked about any coins from the West Point Mint, but the 2019 W Shield Pennies are already worth around 50 cents if they're in really good circulated condition, but can be worth in upwards of $25 to $50 in higher grades. There was only 899,000 of these minted, and since they're a relatively new shield cent, they are readily available in grades like MS 61 to 66, but ones in higher grade and with red, red-brown, or brown designations are really worth quite a bit of premium over that 1 cent face value, and a premium over other highly graded coins without those designations, generally being seen sold in auction for roughly $100 to $120. Next on the list is the 2020 S Shield Penny, and this is another one that only had 824,000 of them made. Now, this is a proof coin, so these are really low mintages, and the 2020 S Lincoln Cent, since it is a proof, and a first strike version of this coin sells roughly for around $200 online, and only 800,000 of them were minted, so they're extremely rare comparatively to find than other pennies on this list, but it is a really good coin and they are out there. Ones in higher grades are going to sell for the most, being anywhere between $25 and $45 in auctions, sometimes even higher, closer to $100. But these are really good coins to look for. Next on the list is the 2021 S Shield Penny, which is another proof cent. There was 802,000 of them made, and since many of them have been found in circulation, I thought they'd be great for this list. They usually are seen selling in higher grades for around $15 to $35, but ones with red-brown designations, brown, or red designations can be seen selling in upwards of $125. The last two on the list are the 2022 and 2023 S Lincoln cents that came in a proof finish. The first strikes of these coins sell for anywhere between $200 and $300, since for the 2022 S pennies, there was only 800,000 of them minted. These already sell for around $25 to $35, but in really high grades, you can see these sell for around $60 at auction. Then last on the list is the 2023 S penny, another proof finish, and usually seen selling even in average circulated condition for around 25 cents, which is of course a great premium over a 1 cent face value for such a newer coin. There was only 300,000 of them made and minted out of the San Francisco Mint, and the 2023 S pennies usually can sell in upwards of $70 to $80 in really high grades, so they are worth the cost of grading to make a small premium over that value and cost to getting it graded. But ones with the red designation for the 2023 Shield pennies are worth about 30% more than that, and are just a really great coin to not only send in for a grade, but to have in a collection, and a great one to keep an eye out for in pocket change. With that, it concludes our list of 20 more pennies to keep an eye out for in your pocket change. The last few of them, with their proof finishes, are a little bit more rare than the others, so really the beginning of the list is something to keep an eye out for. I hope you enjoyed these pennies and learned a little something. Watch out for other posts from mine where I ask questions on things that I just don't know, and you can enlighten me, as well as other videos on banknotes and coins coming out, as well as some collectibles. Thank you so much. Hit subscribe if you're a fellow collector like me.